Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you doing? I hope you're doing well. UFC 281 wrapped up yesterday, and I want to talk about it. It's been a while since I've talked about any type of UFC or MMA related content. It's probably been like 4 years or something like that. It's a sport that I love. I think MMA is the best sport in the world. Been watching it for over 20 years, and this card has gotten me so excited that I had to break it down. But before we get into all that, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Raycon. 'Tis the season to buy gifts, and when you're looking for a gift everyone needs, Raycons are the way to go. Their wireless earbuds, headphones, and speakers offer premium sound, useful features, and almost custom comfortable fit, and up to 54 hours of battery life. I use them myself for everything. Specifically now, I use them when I box. And as the person gifting them, you gotta love that they start at half of the price of other premium audio brands. Or why not just cover everybody at once and get 30% off by shopping Raycon's holiday bundles? I'm a big fan of the Audio Lover bundle because it comes with everyday earbuds and everyday headphones, because you guys know I am a headphone connoisseur, so I love to have my headphones and my earbuds. Cool thing is you can buy Raycons in stores. Now you can go to Kohl's and Walmart, but the thing is you're always gonna get the best deal if you go to buyraycon.com/SBG. So go to buyraycon.com/SBG and use code EARLYBF to get 20% off site-wide. Or you can save even bigger and get 30% off of Raycon's exclusive holiday bundles. There'll also be different deals coming throughout the season, and I'll try to keep the description box updated with the latest offers. Go grab them, ladies and gentlemen. I've been partnering with this company for 2 years. I trust them wholeheartedly, and thank you again, Raycon.
Supreme victory!
Israel Adesanya is no longer the UFC middleweight champion of the world. That is so insane to say, because people were like, well, I don't think Izzy's ever going to lose. And good for him. But then that's why they brought in Alex Pereira. For those that you don't know, Alex Pereira is a decorated kickboxer. You know, Adesanya came from kickboxing. Tons of fights in kickboxing, they fight like crazy. Like, it's just one of those sports where it's like, y'all fought way too much. How do you not have CTE already? But it's just like, that's just how they do it. And Israel Adesanya has been beaten by Alex Pereira twice. Once, it was a very close decision that most people, including myself, think that Izzy should have taken it. The second one, Alex didn't leave it to the judges at all. He knocked him out. It was just like, boom, KO. And that was pretty crazy. But if you've always looked at Izzy and the way that he's approached it, he didn't really seem to care that much. I'm sure there's always going to be a sting, but it didn't seem like it was something that he just really holds on to. Like, even when he went up to 205 and challenged Jan Blachowicz for the UFC light heavyweight championship, when he lost, and now he had that little blotch on his record because he used to be perfect, he just seemed to be like, whatever, those little side quests, I failed it, on to bigger and better things. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how you should go about this business, because at the end of the day, it is a sport. Now, it's one of the most serious sports because you can get seriously injured, and people have. But at the end of the day, it is a sport. It's an organization. There's rules. There's things set in place. And games aren't the most important things in life. So if you lose at this game, even though it's a very important game, it's not the most important thing in life. So it's like you can just brush it off as dirt off your shoulder, recollect yourself, and get back at it. Because some people fall from grace once they have a really bad loss or something that's really embarrassing, and then mentally they can't get over that hurdle. There was actually somebody on this card, Dominic Reyes, who fought in the prelims, who has fallen from grace, because I also believe this, as many people do, that he should have beaten John Jones. John Jones, the GOAT of light heavyweight. You know, a lot of people don't like to call him the GOAT because he's had so many PED controversies. He's been suspended, I don't know, so many times. But it looked like Dominic Reyes beat him. And since he lost, you know, the judges essentially seemed to have robbed him. It was very close, though. It's hard to call it a robbery, but people think that Dominic Reyes did enough. And ever since that, Dominic Reyes has just been on a horrific losing streak, just getting KO'd ridiculously. And last night, his fastest KO by a jab. Dude's chin is gone, confidence is just gone. He changed camps and he's just done. So that's an unfortunate side effect of something that can happen when you get psychologically beaten. But Izzy, he seems fine. I'm going to break down this fight, but I want to just kind of touch upon the other fights on the card before I get to that main event. Dan Hooker, a member of City Kickboxing, he finally wins because he had been on a losing streak. He had been doing too well, and so he got this one done. And gladfully, man, because everybody likes Dan Hooker, and his opponent was his opponent named Claudio. I don't even know how to say his last name, no disrespect to him, but he's a jiu-jitsu. He's really good at jiu-jitsu. He's an expert, and so he was doing that kind of thing, that Weasley thing, where he tries to get you down. Because when all else fails, when your stand-up isn't good, when your wrestling isn't as good, you kind of just resort to what you know best, and it doesn't work very well. Because that happened to a guy named Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall is a jiu-jitsu wizard, and he's submitted a lot of people amazingly. But people have figured out jiu-jitsu when you're standing up. They're like, all right, just stay away from this guy. And these jiu-jitsu guys don't have amazing wrestling, and that's the one recipe that's missing, to have that beautiful takedown to get to your jiu-jitsu. But since these people don't have the best wrestling, they just try to tangle them up first. They try to do something to try to entrap them, invite them to the ground with them, and then people just don't fall for it anymore. And so it's good to see Dan Hooker take the W. Frankie Edgar faced off against Chris Gutierrez. Frankie Edgar was his last fight, retiring, and it was sad that he was fighting somebody of the caliber of Chris Gutierrez. I'm like, you couldn't find somebody that's like on the way out too, so it can be at least a level fair fight, because Frankie is still a warrior, but Frankie was on his way out and has been getting KO'd a bunch, man. I mean, Corey Sandhagen, need him to the moon. Cheeto Vera turned Frankie into a Simpsons character. That's how ugly that knockout was. I mean, it just looked awful. And here you go again, Chris Gutierrez, who is a savage, an up-and-coming savage, just knees him to the moon again. Everybody has nothing but love and respect for Frankie, and I'm just like, that's the way you want to send this guy out? You know, like, okay, there's a saying that you're always supposed to go out on your back, but I never believed that. I don't think that there's a saying, and it's more for wrestling and like sports entertainment, like you're supposed to pass the torch by going on your back. I understand it to a certain extent in sports entertainment, but in this, I'm like, well, wouldn't you want to win as your last fight? That sounds like the best thing, especially if it's not for a championship, right? It's just a regular fight, 3 rounds, you want to just win, and then you have that memory forever, instead of like, damn, my last fight was me getting knocked on my ass completely unconscious. Like, that's not a memory that people want to have. But Frankie Edgar is an absolute legend, an absolute stud. Everybody loves him, nothing love for him. Godspeed to him and the rest of his endeavors and whatever he's gonna do. Now, the people's main event, Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Barn burner, of course, because the way that Michael Chandler fights, man, Michael Chandler just has one switch and it's on, and he swings so hard. He's always trying to just take your head off, and that's his biggest problem. Because of that, he gasses, and then he stops protecting himself, and you cannot afford to do that against somebody like Dustin Poirier, because Dustin Poirier, I don't think he gets really enough credit. Obviously, people know how good he is, but I don't think they give him enough credit for how just perfect his boxing is, really, and how heavy-handed he can be. He's a big guy for the lightweight division. People don't really talk about that. People always talk about, like, oh, Islam Makhachev is really big for the lightweight. I'm like, dude, Dustin Poirier is thick. If you looked at Michael Chandler versus Dustin Poirier, it looked like they're in 2 different weight classes. And it's just like, Dustin Poirier is a big guy, man. He's hard to take out. He has an excellent chin. That's one of those things where I'm like, bro, this is going to be a hard fight. And everybody was like, please, Michael, I know you're an amazing entertainer, but you probably want to take Poirier down, focus on your wrestling, because that's one thing that you're really good at. But like, Michael just can't help it. Chandler has to just put on entertaining. That's just how he's always fought. Even back in Bellator, he would use his wrestling sometimes, but he liked to just be a showstopper. He liked to put it on you. And it's great to have him in the UFC finally, because Bellator does have some great champions. They have some great fighters that are still in that organization. I can think of somebody like AJ McKee that I feel like that needs to be in the UFC as well. It's like, I get it. If you're an organization, you want to hold on to your superstars so you can still pump it up there too. But me, selfishly, it's like, I watch a lot of MMA organizations. I'll watch the PFL, I'll watch One Championship, watch a little bit of Bellator, watch UFC. So it's like one of those things where I'm like, man, imagine if everything was consolidated so then I could just watch one thing, pay less money. It's just me being selfish. But I understand that competition is healthy for the sport too, because people and organizations get lazy when there is no competition. So I digress on that. But Dustin Poirier wins, 3rd round, rear naked choke, man. It was really impressive, because you didn't know. It was like round 1, I was like, oh man, that was pretty crazy. Round 2 went to Michael Chandler, and then it was like, what's gonna happen? Then Dustin just finished him off. And the thing is, Dustin was way more disciplined, wanted this way more, it meant way more to him. Chandler seems he's a little bit too concerned with just being the most entertaining fighter than being the best fighter. And I feel like the fight that nobody was surprised at all about, Weili Zhang versus Carla Esparza. Now, I like Carla. Carla is from my area, right? It was cool when she won way back in the day when they introduced the strawweight belt on the Ultimate Fighter. She won it against Rose Namajunas. That was very cool. Even though Rose Namajunas was always my favorite, watching that show, I was like, oh yeah, Rose is gonna take it. But Carla's wrestling on another level. And then we all saw that embarrassing fight where it's like, oh, here they go again. They're gonna fight again, and it's like Carla's like the boogeyman. It's almost like Rose. I don't know what it was. If Rose was frozen because she was just having PTSD from the first time they fought, or if she just listened too well to her coaches, because you saw her fiance, Pat Barry, saying that, yeah, you're doing everything great. People are supposed to be booing you. And she was like inactive. And because of her inaction, Carla was not really doing anything either. But I also blame that on Carla, because I'm like, Carla, push the pace. So Carla won, right? She got the belt, but everyone booed her. And it's like, Carla, you should have pushed the pace a little bit. My whole point is, though, even as much as I like Carla, Rose should not have lost that. So now that Weili Zhang and Carla face off, it was like, Carla doesn't stand a chance. I like Carla, but she doesn't stand a chance. Weili is on a complete another level. She's an absolute savage and probably one of the hardest working people that you can physically see on the UFC. Like, she's just scary to watch, man. She's absolutely frightening to watch. Because I even look at her, she's tiny, and I'm like, I think she could destroy me. Like, I'm a big boy. I'm like 225 pounds. I mean, I saw her pick up Francis Ngannou, fair enough, but still, if I laid on top of her, I don't think she'd be able to get off. I don't think she would be able to get off because I'm just way heavier. But if we were just fighting, kickboxing, I think she would smoke me. Like, no contest. So, congratulations to Weili. That was very impressive. Now, finally, let's get to the main event. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. As you guys know, Israel Adesanya lost, and it was pretty crazy because it was very similar to what happened to Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards. Kamaru Usman was winning the entire fight, getting to the 5th round. He gets caught with a kick. That shit was crazy. And then you have something very similar. Israel Adesanya is just cleaning up Alex Pereira. The first round was pretty competitive. Some people are like, oh, I may have even given it to Alex, but Izzy was really dominating most of the round until like the very end. So to me, I'm like, I would have gave it to Izzy probably. But that being said, people either were doing 4-0 or 3-1 as far as the rounds go going into the 5th. So no matter what, the way you looked at it, Izzy was gonna win. And then Alex Pereira's corner just gives him the pep talk of a lifetime. He asked Glover Teixeira, hey, do I need to knock him out? Which is crazy that he's like, doesn't know that. And he's like, yes, you need to knock him out. Like, you have 5 minutes to be champion. And he stepped on the gas. And here's something that like a lot of people are talking about, because if you looked in the 4th round, Izzy kind of stepped off the gas, and so did Alex Pereira. Now the thing is, Izzy, being the champion, should be knowledgeable. At least his corner should be like, he's trying to take a breath. He's trying to get back into this. Do not relent. Now, the only problem is, and Izzy said himself in the press conference afterwards, that his leg was compromised. Those leg kicks that Pereira invested in paid off. So it was hard for Izzy to push the action anymore because he was compromised. And if you saw that in the last round where there's a moment where he tripped, and because his leg was just compromised. And the same thing happened to if you guys remember, Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. Same thing happened the second time that they fought, where McGregor's leg was compromised. When Dustin Poirier put on a flurry of punches, this barrage of punches, Conor couldn't really move out of the way. So when that happens, you're really just trying to bob and weave, but then if you get caught a few times, that's it. And that's what happened to him. This time, Izzy got caught a few times. He was definitely, like, rocked, but But he says himself he was lucid, and I do believe him. When they slowed it down, he was lucid, and because some people say, oh, he was looking down. But then when they slowed it down, you can see him looking up a little bit. He is still looking to see where he's going. Was it stopped prematurely? Kind of, but not really, because pretty much it's like if it would have gone on any longer, most likely Izzy would have been knocked out. Like, just straight up floored. No TKO stoppage, but just knocked out. But at the same time, we've seen crazier things, so there is a little part of me that I'm like, damn, I wish that, like, they would have just let it go. And just, we'll see what happens, you know? And just like Izzy said, he would have liked to have gone out on a shield. We would have liked to have seen it, because other people would be making fun of him. Oh, he got knocked out again. But it's like, whatever. TKO, KO, shit happens. Same thing, but it just would have been like, there could have been a better story told, possibly. Possibly even better for Pereira. He was cold knockout. Even better for him. Or Izzy somehow slips out. Imagine if he kind of slipped out, because here's something that also happens too. People go out and then they get hit back into lucid consciousness. If you've been watching this sport for a long time, you've seen this happen many a times where someone was out, but then the flurry of punches shut their lights back on. It turned them back on. And I feel like there was a moment that's what happened to Izzy. But at the same time, Pereira hit so hard, it only, like, maybe one more would have just completely shut the lights off. We don't know. It's all speculation. All I know, there was an insane fight. Congratulations to Alex Pereira too, because that dude is a savage. A lot of people were bitter that he got fast-tracked to fight Israel Adesanya, and really he's only in the UFC to fight Israel Adesanya. But look at the results. He beat him, so it made sense. Insane card, insane night at Madison Square Garden, man. I love this sport so much. Best sport in the world, man. I definitely wouldn't mind talking about mixed martial arts more. We'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Love y'all. And I'll see you in the next video.